So are you on the fence about small groups, wondering if they are something that's good for your programming or not good for your program, something you want to transition into, or are you still kind of just feeling out whether or not small groups are right for your students? Well, we're going to talk about them today right here on the Youth Worker Daily. Hey Youth Workers, welcome back to the Youth Worker Daily. My name is Jay Hyam, and here at the Youth Worker Daily, we've created this vlog series to help provide resources, tips, tools, and how-tos so that youth workers like you thrive in their ministries. We're glad that you're here checking in. If you are not a subscriber, I want to encourage you to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Become part of our community here as we talk about all things youth ministry related. Don't forget to ring the bell, because that means if you do that, when we post a new vlog episode, it'll go right to your inbox and you'll know when each new vlog hits our channel. And of course, we would love for you to give us a thumbs up if you find the content here helpful and relatable to you. And of course, we would love it for you to share us and add a comment below. So today we're talking about that big question of small groups and whether or not they are right for your ministry, or if you're thinking, do I do it? What's going to push you over the edge to get you to that place where you're thinking small groups is the way to go? I want to talk briefly about that today, but before we jump into that, I want to give a quick plug for the Controlled Chaos podcast and the blog site. We just have come off of an amazing week of activity. A lot of great content was posted this week. 5 fantastic articles hit the blog this week. Justin Herman is working through his transition from being in his church to now being jobless to looking at what his next steps are. So he has a great article on there that talks about some of those things that he's dealing with. Todd Jones had a great post this week about what it looks like to get your middle school students to pay attention while you're doing your teaching time, doing your midweek programs or your Sunday night programs or whenever it is that you meet. And then Benjamin Kerns had another great, quick, short, yet helpful post giving 5 easy tricks to help getting your middle school boys talking in small groups. And I want to encourage you to check that one out, since we're talking about small groups today. That would be a great thing to stop. So you can go ahead, controlledchaos.fun. You can check in on the podcast and the blog post all right there on the site. We want to encourage you to go and do that. Like I said, great stuff this week. And if you missed the live cast with Justin and his wife Brittany, it was great. We're going to have links to that here on the blog, on the vlog, and then there'll be links over to that on the blog, on the podcast site as well. It's really hard to keep things straight when you're talking about vlogs, blogs, and podcasts, but it's all great stuff, so I want to encourage you to go ahead and check those things out. We're talking about small groups today, and really it comes down to like deciding the yes-no question. Do you want to do small groups? And what are the benefits of the reasons? And so I want to share with you three reasons that I think are valid reasons for why you should be considering small groups. Now, before I give you these 3 things, here's what we're doing with my ministry. I've been at our church for 4 years. We do not operate currently through small groups. That's not part of the church's DNA or culture, but it's something that we are beginning to change, in that we're bringing the conversation about small groups to our students and to our leaders, and we're beginning to lay the foundations so that we can go ahead and have small groups maybe in the next year or so. So here's kind of what we're doing, and I'll tell you why I think small groups are so important. So right now what we're doing is, with our high school group, we have set our room up with small cafe tables. And each week when the students arrive, they have some time to kind of just like mingle with one another and a leader. They kind of gather around their tables, and our leaders jump in there, and they just have some early discussion and some, just checking in with each other. And then as we finish out our time, we have a little bit of time to do discussion questions. And so those leaders will stay at those tables, and then they'll work through some discussion questions with our students at those tables. And so for me, this is like beginning to plant the seeds for what small groups will eventually look like. That idea of students having a leader who is engaging them in conversation and then engaging them through teaching and the follow-up with discussion questions or whatever it is. Our hope is to transition into a small group format hopefully by the fall of next year. And if that happens, I'll come back and we'll talk about what that looks like. With our junior high, we're looking to do the same thing. We've been working over the last year just talking about how we want to make small groups part of our junior high programming, because our junior high program is a little different. We only see them one night a week, and we only have an hour and a half to be with them. And so we try to cram a lot of stuff into that hour and a half. So we're talking about adding another 30 minutes, doing discussion groups with them, and kind of creating those community groups in here. But here's really the heart of this episode, why I want us to move to small groups. And so I really have three simple reasons or benefits that I think are valid for why small groups need to be a part of our student ministry. So here's the first one. The first one is this: it's to be known. We see a number of students in our junior high and our senior high, and I'm the only full-time paid staff person. And so I was actually just going through our roles, our database this week, and we are over 100 students that participate in either our junior high or our senior high program. Now that sounds great, but we don't see all 100 of those students each week. And part of that is because we don't have the staffing to actually work with the students in such a way so that our students are known. So as we move towards that small group model, we're doing so because we want our students to feel like they are known. And the best way for that to happen is in that small group context, where we have one or two leaders that are committed to serving and caring for and ministering to a small group of students. Say it's 5 or 6 or whatever it is. They are taking those intentional steps to get to know those students, to be a part of their lives, and to have that relationship where the students feel known. I think one of the biggest things that students struggle with is the fact, does anybody really know them? Does anybody really care for them? And I think in small groups, we begin to demonstrate what it looks like for a student to be known. And so one of the key roles that our small group leaders will play is the responsibility to go and know the students and make it so that the students know that they are known. The second thing that our small group leaders will have the responsibility to do is to work in such a way that the students know that they are loved. And this is, again, super crucial, because I think it's not just that we know Jimmy or we know Sally or we know Bob, we know what sports they play, we know what clubs they're a part of at school, but I think there needs to be a relationship there where those students feel like, yes, they're known, but they're also cared for. They're also loved. And so one of the things that I want our small groups to kind of model for our students is what it looks like to actually have that relationship where students feel like, yes, they know me, but more so, they love me. And there's a place for me, and it's safe for me, and I can ask questions, and I can bring my struggles, and I can be honest about my doubts, all because I know I'm going to be loved regardless of what I say or what I do. And so I think small groups provide that atmosphere where students can be loved, and they can be loved well. The third benefit, or the third thing I think that small groups allow us to accomplish is they help us to do discipleship better. So there's 100 kids in our role. If I were to try to have a relationship with every single one of them that led to discipleship, I would go nuts. There's no way that I could effectively disciple all of those students by myself. But in a small group setting, that community that is being built with that one leader or two leaders with 5 or 6 students, that becomes a place where those leaders can disciple those students. And for me, the best definition for discipleship is life-on-life ministry, where you are hanging out together, you are breaking bread together, you are a part of each other's lives, and you're able to really live out what Jesus does with his disciples in the sense of being a discipler and a disciple. You do life on life together. And in those small group settings, that's the perfect place to do that. There's no way that I can accomplish those 3 things by myself with all 100 students. There's not enough time in the week. I'm not a Superman. I just can't do those things. But in small group settings, we take those 3 big things: to be known, to be loved, to be discipled, and we make it possible for our students to experience those things in great communities where they have relationships and they have people who care about them and people who want to see them succeed. Now, if you're thinking about moving to small groups and you're not really sure how to do that, especially if your culture is not already doing that, it's a tough transition to try to get parents and students to be thinking a little differently about how they meet either on a weekly basis or a seasonal basis. Dr. Scott Talley has a great blog post on the controlledchaos.fun site that talks about this very thing. It talks about how to transition students into discipleship relationships. And the whole premise of his article is to help us move through that process of getting junior hires, especially ones who are just coming into your program, getting them into those relationships where they begin to develop those connections so that they are known, loved, and they're discipled. So I want to encourage you to check that out. You can find a link for that in the description below. So make sure you go ahead and take that. I think it'd be super helpful just to hear his thoughts, read his thoughts about what it looks like for you if you are considering going into the small group model. Okay, that's going to do it for us today. I wanted to encourage you to do a couple things. Obviously, yes, go and check out Dr. Scott Talley's blog post. Again, the link is in the description below. But also take a few minutes to go and visit us at controlledchaos.fun. Controlledchaos.fun. On that site, you'll find all of our current blog posts, and you'll find each weekly episode of the podcast. And what I want you to know is that the podcast hits every Wednesday. You'll be able to go to the website and check it out. If you can't go to the website, pick it up on iTunes or Podbean or one of the other areas where we post the podcast. But then be sure to come back each day, Monday through Friday, as we share blog posts that are all geared to help you do well with your junior high ministry. And after that, go ahead and check out my site. It's at jhyam.com. If you're looking for someone to coach or consult, or you just want a link to connect with some resources or some networking, feel free to reach out and contact me there. You can find other episodes of the Youth Worker Daily also on that site. All right, guys, as always, we want to encourage you to subscribe. If you have subscribed in the recent days, we want to say thank you. So glad that you're joining this community. But if you haven't subscribed yet, would you go ahead and consider doing that? Become part of our group here. We're looking to encourage one another and to just help one another be better at doing youth ministry. Whether you're in junior high ministry or whether you're in senior high ministry, we want to make sure that you thrive. All right, ring that bell so you get the latest notifications and leave a comment. Here's what I want to hear from you guys today. Small groups. What are you doing? What are your thoughts about them? The pros, the cons, how do you structure them? How do you get them started? What do they look like each week? Leave those comments below, and I'm sure they're going to be a blessing, not only just to me, but to the rest of our community here. All right, guys, that's it for this week. We'll see you next time right here on the Youth Worker Daily.